It's a breakdown for
It's a
stunts.
breakdown. Uh,
Aptly named.
it's a breakdown. It's a breakdown of the shows that are running. It's a pretty good name. It's not the best name, but
It's a horrible name,
it's.
but it's very obvious what it does.
But yeah, okay, okay, good. Well then, what is it, Warren? If you think it's such a good name.
It's a breakdown service. A breakdown service is a service that shows you what's filming, who's filming it, a little bit more information about how to contact those people, um, and lists all of the things that are filming so that you can then submit your information to the people that might hire you.
So what problem were we solving with this? The breakdown, like.
A lot of the database services are uh, sort of passive for stunt people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to actively try to go out and get jobs. And a lot of people feel like there are jobs out there that people are just not hearing their names, um, and they would be right for those jobs. So we tried to create a service that would allow for those people to play an active role in getting their own jobs.
Right. Because sitting at home and saying like, I hope they find me on stunt listing is not like a good feeling for someone who's
Right.
like a real go-getter and you're like, I'm gonna hustle so hard, I'm gonna work so hard, I'm gonna go and train, like, and then no one knows about it. That's like the sad part. This is like the
Yeah.
unfortunate truth of stunts is that you actually have to like tell people about what you did. And that's not what any
Yeah.
most people are not in it for that. Some people love it, but like, man, that's
It's also hard to know who's coordinating stuff. Like
yeah.
you might know a bunch of people, but you won't necessarily know that they're coordinating things unless there's a service that's going to tell you. Because a lot of stunt coordinators are more private about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you might know, oh, my buddy is actually doing a show that I might be good for. Let me hit him up.
You know what? I think we saw conversations happening. Like we didn't really invent this idea. Like
No.
this like breakdown service thing has existed. There's like Production Weekly and like 10 other versions of this that just they do research. Deadline has show information. I mean, you can look on IMDb to see who's filming. It's not right. Uh,
Right.
like, and there's going to be like 10 coordinators on a lot of
Yeah.
shows, and you don't know who's doing what. You might have a good guess, but like you don't want to be wrong, right? And like we saw people having a lot of conversations about this. Hey, well, do you know who's filming that? Do you know who's running that show? Do you know who's hiring on that? And we just formalized it into like a service that people can use because most people don't have time or the contacts to have all of the conversations you'd need to have to find out that information, right? It used to be like there were a couple of shows and people would just, oh yeah, Jerry's running that show. That's Susan's show, and then you just know, oh, I'll go reach out to them. Yeah, you should send them your stuff. You should, but like having it all organized in one place, I think was sort of the problem we were solving. Make this a little more of like a formal thing. Yeah, yeah. How does it work? I'll show you. I have it. I happen to have access to this tool.
Oh, good.
It's good. It's good
That would make
because
this video really dry.
that makes. I tend to make videos very dry. All right, let me get access to this. So when you load this stunt breakdown, this is what you'll see. Get a piece of the action. I think that's a nice catchphrase, not mine. A buy now button. A preview of what this service looks like. This is sort of like an old screenshot we had. Um, and then more information about it, what's filming, the coordinator's preferences. Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about like what is actually in this service too, like what makes it pretty special. Um, you can know who's filming. That's what we talked about. We asked for coordinators' preferences because everybody kind of has like different ideas about it. Like there's this misconception that all coordinators want one kind of headshot, or they all want like a selfie, or they all want like in different areas people get like this different idea. People want like, I want 5 pictures on one page and I want that with your resume so when I open it I see pictures. Not everybody wants that. It's actually kind of, that's a really rare one. So we try to find out what they want and we go from there. We're updating this all the time. Uh, you can use it on a device, right? This is modern internet. You can. It's not like it's an old PDF document like people used to use. People still use that. People still use old PDFs. It's amazing. And wow. So we're at this point. This is updated live from our database. We currently have coordinators preferences. We have 242 coordinators preferences, how they like to be contacted, how they prefer to be contacted, and we update that when they start a new show. So we have, it's going to count again, but I saw it said 35. There's 35 shows current, and there are more shows filming than that, but I'm going to talk more about why we don't display every show later. Oh, there's more. We have some upcoming shows, and we have this many pieces of information. And information is like the director is this person, the stunt coordinator is this, the start date is that. That's a lot of information. That's our database.
That's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information. And then pricing, FAQ. You guys can read all that, but I'll show you what this service looks like right now. We have search buttons. It actually looks, if you look at stunt listing, it looks a lot like that. You can pick different locations to see what's filming in different areas. I can't show you everything because then I'd be giving it all away. You can see what just ended in New York City or LA. You can see even shows that need a coordinator. Maybe these shows have coordinators, but we don't. We only show them when we've confirmed. So to pick a random show, I'm going to just pick a random show that I know something about, which is Equalizer Season 4. Because I'm on this show. I'm working on it right now. We have all of the preferences in here. We have everything about how to be contacted. We've got the contact email. If you want to look into who's on the show, these are all the main people. And this is additional office information. But the main stuff for you guys is here. When we're shooting, that's all up to date. This looks great. Yeah, Warren, you're looking at this as a performer. What are you seeing that is helpful to you?
There's a few things that I look at when I see a breakdown like this. The first thing that my eye gravitates to is who's the stunt coordinator. Thankfully, I know one of the stunt coordinators in this show, so I know who I'd reach out to. But maybe I don't know one of the stunt coordinators. I might know the fight coordinator. Right, so I look at the stunt coordinators. I look at the who's the fight coordinator. If I don't know them, right, let me make sure that I have a good handle on who I could contact if I wanted to get on this show. And then I look at coordinator notes because that's usually where I'm going to find the best information on how I should present myself for hiring for the show. A lot of coordinator notes say, "Hey, just contact me like twice a year, just so that I have your name in my head." Generally, and some people say, "Hey, this show only has Asian guys that can ride BMX bikes, so if you're not that, don't contact me for this show." And that's really helpful, so I don't look like a fool sending in my information for this show when I am not either a BMX rider or an Asian guy. So I don't fit the show.
Yeah, I mean it's useful. I think I'm looking at this and going like, is everything here 100% right? And it is. I mean it is. Like that's the main thing is this service is not run by you and I on a daily basis. It's run by employees at the breakdown. It's run by people at the breakdown who are telling you all the information they have. This was updated. That's all still 100% correct. And they should contact.
We created the systems for this to work.
Yeah.
And then we have other people that interface with the coordinators because we found that it's a little bit weird for us to be as stunt people and you as a stunt coordinator. It was a little awkward for us to be doing these calls with coordinators trying to get the information necessary to populate the site.
Right.
So we hire people to do that thing that are specifically good at cultivating those relationships.
Yep. Their job is to make coordinators happy. Should we talk about the one of the other things we do with this service for coordinators? Because there's some
Yeah,
coordinators who get packets together. There's not much to like show you
it's my
there.
favorite part.
Yeah, this is sort of like a unique feature of the breakdown that people don't really know about, which is not all coordinators want submissions. And for years, like we would reach out to people, hey, do you want submissions? Nope, I don't want anyone to contact me. So because of that, we didn't list them. We wouldn't list what show they were on. We wouldn't list their contact information because contacting them to them was a nuisance. Maybe you could sneak in and get a nice email and, hey, I emailed you personally. Hey, I dropped you a text message. Like, people would contact them anyways, but potentially you're putting yourself on like a do not hire list for at least like the short term, right? So we petitioned these coordinators and we're like, hey, what if we, why don't you like this? And they said, because they're getting interrupted all the time by production, and this is just 10 more interruptions that I don't want, right? I'm trying to focus on doing my job, I'm trying to focus on like keeping people safe and enjoying my life, and then I get these extra interruptions with like, hey, please hire me, I have a stunt reel. So Warren had an idea, and we talked to coordinators about it. What was your idea, Warren? I think it was your
Well, the
idea.
idea was to take all of the submissions that people are sending in,
Mm-hmm.
but get them to us, then aggregate all of those submissions, put them all in one email, and then send them to coordinators at whatever rate that coordinator was okay with. So some people are okay with getting submissions every week. Some people are okay with getting one submission every month.
Mm.
And then we have everybody's submission in that one email.
Yeah.
And then that was preventing coordinators from having to open up tons of emails, getting emails at weird times of the day.
Yeah.
They didn't feel like they had to respond to every submission because it's also annoying as a coordinator to open up all of these submissions. These stunt people are, sort of some of them pouring their hearts out to you saying like, hey, I really want to be on this show. And a lot of our coordinators want to be able to say, hey, I got your submission, thank you so much for submitting to me. This, I read it, here's my thoughts, I'll keep you in mind. But that's a lot to write to 100 people that wrote in. So so this sort of aggregate service allows them to be like one step back from that and not feel like they have to put so much time and energy into responding to each and every email.
Yeah, and I mean, they want to look at them like coordinators. I know I
Yeah,
need to meet new people and see what people are up to, and I'll get emails from people who are brand new, people who are SAG eligible, people I've just never seen before because they're not in our area, right? So they send me a message and I go like, wow, this guy's like a great performer. He can do this kind of thing. Now I know a little bit about them because you can't
right.
just go on Stunt Listing and look at everyone because there's 5,000 people, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna like this just brings it to my attention. And I go, okay, let's look at what you've got going on, and I like them. Actually, I don't love them getting them all the time, but like I accept them. That's how we take them on the show. They go through Miles Equalizer, and I get those. He gets them. We all look at them. We get good submissions. We get not so great submissions. The thing that the packet does for performers, because we added on to this, somebody builds this packet, and what we do is we actually start checking your submission because you'd be surprised because you're like, oh, this would never happen to me. Your stunt reel is wrong. Your resume is wrong. You've spelled someone's name wrong. You've sent it to the wrong show. And if you send it directly to their email, great. They probably will notice if their name is spelled wrong. And, you're not following their best practices. They're saying, please contact me this way. Send me your stunt reel. Put this kind of headshot in there. So what we do is we have an admin who checks it over. Every submission that comes through and goes into that packet, we check them. And I see them going through the email. I don't look at them deeply, but she's correcting a lot of problems. And she looks at your profile on Stunt Listing too. She goes, oh, by the way, I know you have it here correct, but your Stunt Listing one is out of date or you're missing some sizes. So that is like what we've learned is like that is a big deal for people. So before you mass email,
Priceless.
priceless, before you mass email 100 coordinators the same form letter, which I'll say doesn't work that great unless you're an amazing, the best performer ever made, having it checked over by us is really super valuable because it means that your submission is more likely to make a good impression, and you don't get a lot of chances. You, if you don't, especially if you don't live in the region, no one gets a lot of impressions on a coordinator because they're busy.
Yeah. Our admin also talks to a lot of coordinators,
Mm-hmm.
especially through email. So she knows when there's a coordinator that absolutely hates form emails, and that's the one that I've been most surprised at, is her ability to say, "Hey, so and so, this looks like a form email, and so and so does not like form emails. So try to put something a little personal in this email.
Mm-hmm.
Make this seem a little bit less like a form email so that he's more likely to enjoy this submission."
Right.
And some people take those hints, and some people don't take those hints. But I find those to be super helpful.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you're being told the right answer. You're saying, here's the right
Right.
answer. Do it this way. This is what they want. And I see people hired off emails. I mean, when we're
Oh
on our
yeah.
show, I see it happen, and I see um, people go like, "Oh yeah." It's not the most common. That's not really what the breakdown is for. The breakdown is really for introducing yourself and kind of like keeping yourself up to date with this person, so that they can consider you. If you're right for the equalizer, if you're, like very talented, we have a lot of like kind of stunt acting roles. There's a lot of acting that needs to happen on our show. Um, not like dialogue, not a ton of dialogue, but just like someone who can perform. We welcome those. I mean, anyone who's got those chops. Even if I know you already, it's nice to be reminded, because again, we got 5,000 people on stunt listing. There's no way you can remember who has what acting skills and what performing skills. You're going to remember maybe 200 people, and so there's 4,800 people left off of that
Yeah.
list of on your short-term memory.
I mean, just good luck at remembering everybody's name, regardless of like what they do.
That's the main reason we built stunt listing, was who is that
Yeah.
person. How do performers use it? Have you seen any good like uses of it? Any I've seen success stories where people get hired off emails, but anyone who promises
Sure.
that is a snake oil salesman. Like, it happens, but it's not the
Right.
most common thing. The most common thing is you're just getting someone used to you.
Right. I think that's the main piece of this, right? Is trying to make sure the community has an understanding of who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not necessarily a quick fix kind of thing. There are some jobs where you're just right for, and and usually when you read the breakdown, you'll see a coordinator's notes on a project or a description of a project, and you'll go, "Oh, I know they're probably going to use this guy because he just fits that job." And so there are several jobs where I've seen something like that, and I just send it to that person saying like, "Hey, just so you know, they probably want you.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to send a message to the coordinator." And that's always fun to be able to send that to other performers as well,
Yeah,
saying like,
being a source of information is a
exactly,
super big skill in stunts, because it's a community thing. It's not, you're
yeah,
helping someone else out down the road. They may or may not help you, but if they do, I've had some of those. Just like I like helping people, so it makes it really easy to do. But it's yeah, that stuff almost always pays off, and when it doesn't, you got karma. That's all.
yeah. Some of my favorite jobs I've ever done are because someone that looks a lot like me said, "No, Warren would be better for this job."
That's amazing.
And that's just like, we just keep doing that back and forth, and there's so much goodwill built up through doing something like that that it's worth it.
Yeah, I'll say so. I think some of the best ways people use it, there's like one or two people that use the service in like a really clever way, which is they send us updates on shows because we can't
Mm-hmm.
we're not there to bother the coordinator all the time. We're updating with them whenever we can. But we've got people who send in submissions. Hey, this is now the coordinator, and we go, thanks. Here's $50. And
Yep.
we do that all the time to people that are like updating a shows and going, hey, oh, this person's in this remote region sending and needs people, like they want to be listed. That's that's a main thing that we do. We confirm all of these with the coordinator. So if you tell me like, oh, I know who's doing Transformers 12, that's fine. We all kind of know it. It's in the newspaper, but we confirm with that person and say, hey, do you want submissions? And if they say no, they're not here. So our numbers are like 35. We've been up to 70 shows where coordinators have wanted those submissions. We've been down in like the 20s, and it doesn't bother me because that's the right amount for what is happening right now. Some people want
Right.
submissions. Some people really do not want you to contact them, and they don't. We've built up relationships with hundreds of coordinators. You saw, I don't know, what was it, 240, 250, something like
242, I think.
242, right? So that many, at least, coordinators who are telling you exactly what they want, whether it's contact me, don't contact me, email me, any of it. So that's, I think people use this in like a really clever way to, some people are paying for the service themselves by, just giving us tips.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the know, there's no reason to. I mean, you can make money on this service just by giving us the information that we don't have, especially if you have the relationships with the coordinators to uh, make it something that we can also um, check with the coordinator on.
Let me actually show how that works on this site. So if you have to have our service to do that. Otherwise, people will just tell us information we already have. You're
Right.
here, you click on your little profile icon that was up there. You can see what your membership is, and then you can click on this form and just, we need to know who you are. We need to know how we're going to pay you, show title. We're just going to get ourselves through this. Coordinator name. What's the location? Wyoming. Start date. Any information you have, right? The more information you have, the better it is. We won't list shows that don't have enough information because maybe they're out of date. We get a lot of tips that are out of date, but this is how you can find it on the breakdown. But you have to have the service to give us tips for obvious reasons.
We confirm as much information as physically possible because, when we were first talking about this service, there were services out that you'd get their PDF and you'd see a bunch of shows and then you'd contact some of those people and those shows were over
Or the information was wrong
or the
because
information was wrong
sometimes someone gets
or
hired and then
it's the
they
wrong
move on to another
coordinator.
project. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you're reaching out going like, "Hey, consider me for this job." And they're like, "I can't. Where did you get this information? Your information
Right.
is wrong." So you're making an impression where you are not in the know. You're not really in the community. So like you're out of touch if you're reaching out and your information's wrong, right? That's like not great.
I also got a how did you get my email message one time and that just doesn't feel good, right? Like that's how you know that that service posted someone's email and did not talk to them.
Yeah, and we
It had
have the
their email
coordinator's
somehow,
email. That's
did
why
not
we don't
talk to
share
them.
it. We have
Yeah.
like a direct line to people, and because we're not causing a nuisance, they keep that open, and we're able to send them packets. The packets are really nice. You get a PDF once a week. Um, that's it's a lot of this relationship stuff that like we know because we're stunt people and we developed this service over several years. So
Yeah.
it's a useful service that provides you with valuable information that's not incorrect. Because go to IMDb and compare our information, and often we're gonna have information they don't have, and they're gonna have all this extra information that's not true.
And not necessarily helpful to a stunt person that's trying to get hired.
Right. Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the breakdown.
That's breakdown.
Is there anything else you can think of?
Hmm.
There's a lot to the service.
Virtual
Like
hustles? Do we do virtual hustles through
we,
breakdown?
the breakdown does some virtual hustles sometimes, and we have done free events for breakdown people, but I wouldn't say that's like a main feature. This is the main feature, and occasionally we offer like a review of your email. You can just email them at any. If you're paying for the breakdown, you can just email um, info@thestuntbreakdown.com, and we'll review your email and just be like, hey, does this look right? How's the tone here? Like, because our admins have looked at like hundreds of emails at this point, like hundreds and probably 1,000 emails,
Yeah.
and the coordinators are not going to open up a form letter, and we'll teach you how to do it better if you ask. And we just ran like a 20 hustle session with people where they hustled 20 coordinators one-on-one for over the course of like a couple of months. It's pretty great. Yeah, that's a breakdown. I got nothing else.